So I'm going to have to do it. Oh, old school. How exciting. So yes, it's me, Callum Akehurst Ryan. Yes, you might know me from such things as the infographics that look like this, or from being your favourite tester's favourite tester. Hold for applause. A laugh, derision, great. Really good, thank you, thank you. But no, I've got many years of experience working in software engineering and software testing, specifically as a quality engineer and coach. I go into a lot of teams and help them build up their testing capabilities. I also do a lot of outreach and blogging into the community. My name's very easily Googleable if you want to find my blog. And I'm also a really kick-ass dungeon master. I'll let you take away from that what you will. Let's talk about this talk. So in this talk, we're going to go through some theory and a work example of me working through with a company to show them that basically testing isn't as solved of a problem as they thought. And the takeaways are that the solved part of testing that most teams have is just one facet of testing. Spoiler alert, scripted testing. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to show you how we can help teams to visualize the gaps in their testing. And I'm also going to show you a really useful visualization tool that allows you to talk about the gaps in testing and creating a more holistic picture of testing. And that's Nicola Sedgwick's amazing Quality Radar. So, testing. Is it a solved problem within the engineering space, within engineering teams? So why am I the right person to help you or to talk to you about this topic? I've been working for 5-6 years now in teams that have no quality professionals. I come into purely engineering teams and help them to understand the testing that they're doing. And what I'm finding and what I'm seeing is that the testing they're thinking about is quite rudimentary. I needed to find a way to talk to them about the gaps in testing that they have, show them that they haven't solved the testing problem. Quite a lot of these teams, quite a lot of these companies go, we've worked out testing, we've got automation, we've worked out testing, we've got scripted tests, right? I needed to find a way to show them there's more to it than just that. And I did research to find a way to help visualize this testing. And through that found a really awesome blog post by Nicola Sedgwick that we'll go into later, where she had also been solving this problem. And I've applied the research here to engineering teams and found that I've started to bring them on a journey. I've taken them into viewing testing as something more holistic. And what we're finding, what we're finding is when I look at teams is, although teams do testing, quality is seen as poor. So my experience sort of has helped me drive a view of testing is one thing, quality is another thing entirely. So we've got them there. So what have I seen? And I gave you a spoiler alert for this, but effectively the trends in engineering teams. And when I say engineering teams, this can be teams that have a dedicated tester, dedicated testers, or it could just be developers, product managers working together to implement things. And what I've seen is usually we have a lot of teams that focus around verification and automation. For those of you who haven't heard those terms before, verification and automation are the tests that you can pass and fail. I want this thing, tick. I want this thing, tick. And that doesn't always help us, or doesn't help them to understand the quality of what they're building. Something's correct, but it's not good. An example I usually give to teams when I'm talking about that is I say, right, if you're verifying, I could ask you to make me a toothpaste sandwich and you could get that correct. No one wants it, it's not good. For those of you who want to test that theory, please make a toothpaste sandwich and let me know how that goes. And these teams think that to solve the quality problem, to solve their testing problem, they need more of the same. They need more quality control, quality assurance. They write more test scripts. They automate everything. but that's not helping them. And it's not just dedicated to engineers or software developers. A lot of traditional testers fall into this space as well. We find a lot of testers who sort of like that scripted methodology. So this can be used to help them as well. And why is this happening? Why do we find that testing is not a solved problem? Testing isn't taught to people. Testing is a really weird thing that if it's taught at all in computer science, it's taught as maybe some unit tests, maybe. And there's a big focus when we're teaching testing on automation, or we're also finding out these days that people aren't taught the art of the possible in testing because they're focusing around speed, delivery, and pipelines. And that lends itself to a very specific type of testing as well. And also, in that sort of lack of testing space, the testing community isn't very good at outreach to engineering teams. We don't talk a lot about the art of testing or the art of the possible in testing. If you look on LinkedIn right now, I bet it won't be long before you find a conversation about testing that's probably just about why we don't call things manual testing anymore. And that tends to be the beginning and end of our outreach to engineering teams. So we're not helping them understand what testing could be. And that wasn't a problem in the old days because we had organizations hiring lots and lots and lots of testers and outsourcing effectively the testing problem to skilled professionals. That's not happening so much anymore. We find organizations that hire lots of engineers, not a lot of testers. So we've got people who don't know a lot about testing having to solve the problem of testing. And that then knocks on to hiring managers and CTOs in organizations haven't seen the art of the possible or haven't been taught about testing either. These people are usually developers who know a bit about unit testing and scripted testing, verification testing, but don't know the full art of the possible. And we're not outreaching to help them understand things. So that's why we sort of fall into this space of teams think that they've solved testing because they just don't know anything else. I want to very quickly talk about why this is important to you as testing professionals who have come here to listen to me. The industry is changing. What I just mentioned is that we're finding that there are less testers to developer ratios in organizations now. We need to find ways to evangelize or to help people understand the testing problem. We need to help more people become quality specialists. And we need to show people that they haven't solved the problem in testing. We're finding as well that hiring managers think the testing problem is solved and that they just need more automation. They need more engineers for things. We need to do outreach to help hiring managers realize they need to know more about testing, and that creates more jobs in testing. You've probably seen lots of posts at the moment where there's lots of testers going, it's really hard to find jobs. We all need to create a view of you need more quality specialists because that will help us all find jobs. That's why it's important. And finally, when you get these jobs or you find yourself in a team where you're the only tester, you might have to solve this problem yourself. And hopefully my talk will help you start evangelizing and talking more about testing for people. So that was the preamble. Let's talk about visualizing gaps in testing. So what do I mean by this? When visualizing gaps in testing, I needed to challenge a team's assumptions that they had solved the problem in testing. And the way that I could do that is to show them the art of the possible. The art of the possible basically means showing people everything that could happen in testing. Because if you can challenge people by showing them, here's everything you could be doing, here's the little teeny tiny bit you are doing, that helps them to, thank you, that helps them to understand, okay, there's a journey to go on. And by showing that you're just doing this little teeny tiny bit, it helps validate the hypothesis that we as quality professionals have that you're not doing everything you could be doing. It helps them to see that as well. And from there, we can start filling in the gaps of things as well. So how did I do that? I'd like to introduce you to the quality radar. We're going to go into it a lot, going forwards, and I'll show you what it looks like and so on. But I just want a big shout out. So the Quality Radar is something that was developed by Nicola Sedgwick. She wrote an awesome blog post on the Kazoo blog about it. When these slides are shared, or if people, I'll put on LinkedIn a link to that blog. But effectively, it's a visualization tool in diagrammatic format that helps us to capture the art of the possible about testing and share it to others in a way that's meaningful to them. It's going to be broken down into rings and quadrants. So it looks like a big target or a radar. So it looks like one of these things, basically. And that's why we call it that. And it's really useful for helping people to, I'm stalling now so you can take a picture. It's really helpful for helping teams to drive forward their views and understanding of quality and testing. That's something that I've been doing in teams. So what does it look like? Here it is. This is a Quality Radar. So you can see that there are rings. The first ring is related to internal software quality. Internal software quality is the quality that we can see by looking at the code of something. Yeah. The next one is our external software quality. These are the things that when we're exercising the code, we can see the quality of. So this might be behavior, this might be features. And then we have this weird third layer called brand quality. And that's this ephemeral, theoretical view of a product. So it's not related to exercising or code. It's related to, effectively, what is this thing in the wide in terms of quality? And you might be thinking of things like maybe accessibility, salability, marketability at that term. And it's useful to think of rings, and it's useful to have this view of things, because the closer to the middle we get, the faster the feedback loops. Looking at code gives you faster feedback on quality than looking at the brand. Looking at code is faster than looking at external quality as well, because you're not having to exercise things, you're looking at things point in time. And to that end, there's also a view that the closer to the middle we are, the less negotiable our testing should be, or our quality should be. If you have good internal quality, good code quality, your teams go faster. They can deliver faster. If you can deliver faster, you can make changes to external and brand quality faster. So if you compromise on the outside of the ring, that's better than compromising on the quality at the internal level of the ring. Yeah? I'm seeing nods. That made sense. Excellent. So we've got rings. We've also got quadrants. The quadrants, they go into scripted, exploratory, observability, and collaboration. So let's talk about those. Scripted testing, we've talked about a lot. That's what can we confirm or verify. Is there a pass-fail result? Excellent. That's a scripted test. Exploratory testing. Quick hands up. Who's done exploratory testing before? Most of you. Excellent. I won't go too far into that. But for those who haven't, that's investigations into the unknown. How do we experiment and explore to find out things that we haven't got explicit requirements on? We've got observability. How do we learn from the product in the real world? Quick hands up. Who's doing observability in their teams? Well, we can count it on one hand. Excellent. The reason why this is its own quadrant is engineering teams are bad at observability. No one does it. So we need to call it out. And the last one is collaboration. This is how we work together as a team to build in quality. Ways of working. How do we communicate? How do we make sure that we all have one mind about quality? What's good enough? What are we building? And like with the rings, where we found that we can compromise on things, with the quadrants, if we compromise on something, we don't end up with a full picture on quality. Like, if we just know that we've met requirements, how do we know, do people like it in the wild? Is it good? Did we actually build something that made sense to us all? So we're starting to get this view of, now we can see where the gaps in our testing is. So now we've got a radar. The next thing that I had to do when I was looking at things is using the rings and quadrants, start adding testing items to them to show the art of the possible. for me, it was really useful to have rings and quadrants because it could start focusing my mind on what is the art of the possible? What are the types of testing that could be done? And we have to make sure that when we think about the art of the possible, we're being really pragmatic. So in different situations I've seen, we might have a really old code base, really old, huge mono repo, doesn't take any modern testing, wouldn't even take unit tests. So we don't put that in the art of the possible. We have to be pragmatic. We also have to bring people on a journey as well. So when I was populating my testing radar, which you'll see some visuals of in a minute, I spoke to engineering managers, tech leads, product people, design people. I even went to other testers in the community to just go, hey, is there anything I've missed? To just get a really holistic picture of things. And it also got socialized. It started to get people on that journey as well. You want to show people there are gaps in their quality and gaps in their testing. You want them to feel that they've had a say in that as well. So whack on some thoughts from them because it helps them feel ownership of that. And it doesn't just look like I'm a tester and I'm smarter than you and I'm telling you you're bad. Get them to sort of start realizing it as well. Yeah. So what does this look like? Let's have a look. Here was my scripted. Can you read some of that? Sorry, I'll read some of them out. So scripted, on the internal layer, I talked about things like component testing, unit testing. I looked at architecture patterns, code smells, linting, anything at a code level that would give me a pass-fail result. When I looked at the external quality, I looked at things like end-to-end testing, regression testing of features, deployment tests, manual regression testing, load and performance testing. Again, things that I could pass-fail, but exercise the quality of something. And at the brand level, wider, that was more sort of penetration testing and accessibility testing. Your view of this may look different to mine. This was just the context that I had. Down here, there's something called Ghost Inspector Regression. None of you are probably using that. It's just a tool that we were using, so I've added that in. You're laughing at that. Oh, browser-based regression testing. Yeah, I know, terrible, right?
None have used it.
It's good.
Yeah.
Exploratory testing. This is all the stuff where we're trying to investigate for things. So what's close to the code? Spikes, design reviews, prototyping, risk analysis of stories, risk analysis of code. We did a lot of exploration in that space. We looked as well, and also if you want stuff about the close to the code exploratory testing, look at Marit. I think she's speaking later today. She's excellent in that space. Exploratory testing, what we usually think of as exploratory testing, features based. We can do risk storming, bug bashes, session-based exploratory testing, canary releases and all that. So lots of things is the art of the possible there. And lots of things at a brand level. We could do A to B feature testing, user testing, usability testing, threat modeling, and accessibility benchmarking. So many different things are possible with that. And again, when these are shared, you'll be able to sort of interrogate some of that. Feel free to ask questions about what all the specifics are to me on LinkedIn or something. Observability, the thing that we're all bad at. There are so many tools that we can use in this space. So we can look at code readability, request tracing, we can look at workflows, we can look at alerts, we can look at monitoring and logging, status pages, DORA metrics, business intelligence. At the product level, we can then start to look at things like what's the incident numbers, what's the support ticket requests coming in, what are user workflows tracking looking like, what are the app store reviews on our application, or even sales conversion rates. All of these things give us ways of tracking the quality of what we're doing. And collaboration. This is probably one of the easier ones. And if you have a Scrum Master or a product or project manager in your team, you've probably got a lot of this already covered. But again, what are the ways of working where we can collaborate with each other to improve quality? Pairing, merge reviews. We can do TDD, so test-driven development. We can create coding guidelines or engineering guidelines. Going a bit further out, we can do retros, we can do story owners or story mapping, Three Amigos, other non-gendered names are available. Postmortems and story, I know, Pride Month, I have to put that in. Story mapping, design reviews. And then at a brand level, well, this could be things like company OKRs. This could be things like having non-functional requirements or quality attributes and priorities, product support processes, release notes, release announcements. All these types of things help with collaboration and how we as an organisation work around what's good enough, what does quality look like for our product. That was a lot of information there. Following along? Good. So we have populated a radar with lots and lots and lots of little bits to say, this is the art of the possible with my context. What do we do then? Review it. Go to the tape. In the next section, I will go into more detail of how that workshop looks. But effectively, I took the art of the possible into teams. I went team by team, because each team has a different context, to go, here's what you could be doing in testing. What are we doing? What do we want to do? To show them and to validate my hypothesis that what they're doing isn't solving the full picture of testing. And what does that look like? This is generally what I see. This is an actual quality radar from a team. All the things, and you saw my slices earlier where I had loads and loads and loads of things, this is what they were doing. A bit of scripted testing, a bit of working together. And that working together is mostly just merge reviews and some sprint planning. This shows that the problem of testing has not been solved. We're looking at code, we're doing IDE checks, a bit of visual regression testing, and some deployment checks. And we're doing a bit of Three Amigos, a bit of merge reviews. The code might be okay, but how do we know that what we're building is good? It's the toothpaste sandwich problem again. Like, we've done some Three Amigos, someone's told me, build that, and we've gone, aye, aye. That's all we've done. Is it good? Do people like it? We don't know. Other than like the company tanking, I guess. But most teams end up falling into this sort of space because that's all they know. They don't know what else there is. So our hypothesis of teams not really knowing that they haven't solved testing, it's kind of proven true. And this actually came from a team, and they thought the problem was solved. They were happy. They didn't need a tester. They didn't need advice and coaching. And they saw they did. So let's drill into a little bit more. What does using a quality radar look like to help solve the problem of testing and talking about testing? And this is the sort of practical bit where you can go away with something like this as well. So once we've populated a quality radar, we can run a workshop. And in that workshop, what I would do is I would introduce the radar. I would talk about the quadrants and the rings, talk very much to engineering teams about where you can make compromises and where you shouldn't make compromises. Fun fact, product managers and project managers usually try to compromise on internal code quality as a way of speeding the team up. If you talk to them and say, it makes it slower in the long term, you don't have a pipeline and unit tests to promote adding more features, they get the idea very quickly. So what we would do is introduce that, and I would ask people to emoji vote on each of the tickets, going quadrant by quadrant, to basically say, is this something that we're doing? Is this something we as a team feel that we want to do more? Is it new? Have we never heard of this before? I also got people to ask for questions, to say, hey, Callum, what the hell is this? I don't know what this is. I'd answer it. And things that we don't care about as well. And I let the teams drive that. I didn't tell them what they were going to do, because again, these are organizations where I am but one sole poor quality specialist with lots and lots of engineers, right? Micromanaging that is impossible. So leading the team, what are they interested in from the art of the possible? So you can see there's lots of votes there. We put some comments in about things. These are all the positive ones. We found that lots of people wanted to do a lot more. And I answered questions where questions came up. People might just be like, hey, what's this thing? I've never heard of it before. Give them a bit of a rundown on it. And then they go, oh yeah, I want to do that. Or, oh no, it doesn't meet our context. And then we resolve disputes. every team member had votes. Some people went, yeah, definitely need to do that. Some people went, nope. So what we had to do is sort of resolve those disputes by getting the team to talk to each other and say, hey, you want this, you don't want this. What do we do? Get them to thrash it out and then end up in a result on things. And that's really useful because you want the whole team to be driven forward on things. Cool. Right, I'm gonna have to speed through this bit, sorry. So then we do an analysis. Once we did all our voting on our workshop, I would go away, look at the votes and create some views of our quality radar. So we've seen this one before. This is the testing that was being done. Here's all the things that we want to include. Yeah, we're not doing all this stuff, but we'd love to do it. I'm gonna rush through this thing, but people want to take pictures. Right. And then also it's worth just pointing out, here are the things we don't need, just to come back to and reaffirm. And with these views of the world, we can, one, start to shape testing, shape discussions around testing, but we can also track our progress. We can see things moving from we want to do this to we're doing this. So I created these views to help that conversation with the team. And I use that to have a talk with them, to chat to them, to basically go, what do we want to drive forward? Here's the art of the possible. Here's what we could be doing. Here are the things you've said you want to do. What should we do? And I'd make recommendations. I'm a testing specialist. Of course, I'm going to make recommendations. And I would say, here are things that I think would be easy for you. You've already started going down this route, or this would give you the most value for things as well. But I let the team lead on those things. I try to help the team be realistic as well. Teams love to try and jump onto multiple things at once. But remember, new ways of working, where we're starting from nothing, take a long time to implement. You've got to change a whole culture. I usually say like one thing per 3 months, and then we'll review. A month to get the idea in there, a month to try it out, a month to embed it. So don't try and push too much on that one. And we also need to have empathy when we're talking about this. The worst thing for us as testing professionals is to go, ha ha ha, got ya. Which sometimes we do. We've all seen the memes where it's all like Dev crying and Tester going, I found a bug that you didn't find. Don't do that. You lose credibility very quickly. Have empathy and go, cool, like, let me help you. Let me show you the way. Here's my recommendations. Here's what as a team we're doing. But also show people that they are doing good things. That first slide, synthesized view of a quality radar one, we're doing some stuff. That's great. You're doing testing. We can do more testing, but we're doing it. So have that empathy. And then we review. Then we can review. We can see we're moving from something that looks like this to filling out the gaps. The solved problem of testing, which wasn't solved, is becoming a solved problem because we're now starting to have all the rings and all the quadrants covered. So we can then keep analysing, we can keep doing things. Something that's really helpful is to check in frequently with team leads to go, hey, how are you doing? Do you need more help on some of these things? Do you want to pick up something else? Or where are the team at? And then you can help use that or go, hey, is this working? Do you need more coaching? Do you need more help in things? And then for the team itself, I tend to rerun the Quality Radar workshop every 3 months, every 6 months, because again, it takes a long time to embed and change things. We don't want to overload people with things. We want them to see improvements as well, things moving over. So going back to our key takeaways, we talked about the solved problem of testing being one facet of testing, usually in the scripted domain, and engineering teams thinking that they have a lot in that space, but not always. We talked about visualizing gaps in testing, showing the art of the possible to show that the solved problem of testing isn't quite so solved. And we looked at using a quality radar to talk to teams about testing. And hopefully that's something that you'll want to take away and use with your teams as well. But for now, I have been Callum Akehurst Ryan, and I thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Callum. That was a great talk. Anybody got questions?
I'm on front row. Bring it up.
Who's going first?
Yeah, Emily first.
Okay, in my team,
Yes.
Each part of the quadrant, although I don't talk about it as quadrant, has different stakeholders.
Mhm.
In your workshop, there's definitely like louder voices that say, I can do that, or I'm starting on that thing.
Mhm.
When do you identify key stakeholders to drive it forward because you're not the tester?
That's a good question. Usually as part of the discussions we have. So when we've synthesized a view and we take that into a team to say, cool, what's the thing that we want to drive forward? We can then use that to say who would be interested in driving that, like you would a retro action, effectively, to say, who would be interested in driving that forward? Do we need a ticket in the backlog to drive it forward, or discovery work? That kind of thing, effectively. So in the initial one, we're just capturing information in the initial workshop. Some people might get really excited and want to drive it forward, and we go, whoa, we're just looking at this right now. We're just looking at the gaps. Then when we come to saying, what are we going to do about these gaps? What are we going to do about adding things? That's when we would drive forward with stakeholders. Does that answer? Yeah, good. Go on, Jet.
From your experience,
Mhm.
where have you seen people get stuck when you're using this tool?
Ooh. People usually get stuck because they don't have time. Time is not made to support progression of things, to learn more, or to experiment or try out things. Or louder voices come into play and they start focusing on other things. That's where people really get stuck. And what we have to do is keep coming back at a cadence, like 3 months, 6 months, or check-ins with people to go, how's it going? Where are we at with things? We said we want to do all these things. Do we still want to do these things? And help them make time and space for it. Usually we have to be led by our teams. We have to be led by the engineering quorum or product or so on to make space for that. If we find out that no one's ever going to just move on quality, and we visualized it and we've seen that we don't want to move on quality, then we have to do a bit more education to make it, to make space and time for it. But generally, the place that we tend to get the most stuck is just, we visualize it, everyone goes, yeah, then what? It's like, how many of you have been in retros where we capture those of actions and no one ever picks them up, and we review them and we go, that action's still there, that action's still there, that action's still there. Yeah, it's very similar to that. So we just have, we get stuck on that and we have to just drive things forward. So that's when we as specialists have to keep an eye on it and help people move forward.
I'm greedy, I've got 2 questions.
How could you? And in this economy, go on.
First off, talking about evangelising, there's quite a few of us here that try to evangelise. We quite often end up shouting in the echo chamber.
Yeah.
How do we get out of that echo chamber? How do we spread the word, spread the love?
Yeah, and that is about coming back into teams, cross-functional teams, and outreaching directly to people, which can be difficult. And having tools like a quality radar help us to do that. When we're in our echo chambers, when we're in our little testing bubble, we all kind of know what we're talking about. We all kind of agree on what we're talking about a lot of the time. So it's easy to shorthand, and we can just sort of go, yeah, we should be doing exploratory testing. We all know that. What's harder is taking people on a journey. So to get people to come on that journey with us, we have to go back to first principles. We have to talk in the basics. We have to use tools like this to help people understand why this is important and what's going on with it. And frankly, we have to get rid of our own egos in this situation. It's about outreach, it's about communication, rather than being about like showing that we're clever or wanting to do cool things because we could do those cool things. It's about like, really putting ourselves into that position of other people. And when we think of like user personas and having empathy, and there was a talk, the first talk this morning that Emily gave was about that sort of like personas and putting ourselves in their position. Think about what would help somebody who needs outreach to do that. One thing I would say, talk about things like this on social media or in the wide as well as in your teams, because it helps other companies see, other engineers see the art of the possible as well. So if we are talking about like all these different things, talk to people and to other engineers in a way that will help them. Hopefully that was kind of like a, hopefully that gave you an answer. Go on then, second question, last one.
Well, that was a nice segue into the second question, actually, because you were talking about egos.
Yes.
And taking people on a journey. How do you overcome, especially in the more old school teams, the ego problem of resistance of going, well, we do all that anyway. Fine.
Yeah, one of the things that we can do is we can look at a perception of where people think they are against our perception of where we think they are as well, and start having those conversations. Quite often, yeah, you'll get teams with egos that go, yeah, all solved, not a problem, we do everything there. We can create our own view. So I am privileged in that I'm a staff engineer, I can go and sit with teams. One thing that I would do is I'd go and look. Go, cool, I want to see all these things happening. Are they happening? So what level are they happening? And then we can use different models or different coaching techniques to either take them forward or create another view to go. And do you remember I mentioned like the disparity of thumbs up, thumbs down in those workshops? We can get to a point where we become more opinionated and we put thumbs down on those workshops and say, cool, you're all saying this is solved. I've had a look. I don't think it's solved. Let's talk about that. So that's the way to do it. And again, it's just showing the art of the possible in that space, but with kindness and empathy, rather than going, ha, got you. You said you're doing exploratory testing. You're all terrible. We're not doing that. Thank you. We're doing more of that sort of like, cool, this could be better. I've seen it like this. We're hitting here, but the art of the possible actually looks like this. So coming from a best intentions view, but driving it. People are looking around the doorway now, so I'm going to stop.